And welcome back. One Guy, Two Cups. Reoccurring guest, specialist, beard of knowledge, James Edward Holley. Writer, producer, actor, director, retired service member, and a specialist in all kinds of weird things that when I think I have a grasp on it, I don't. I'm just a child. And he brings out his foresight and his knowledge. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to chew this up. And it's awesome to have him on this podcast because every time I feel like I have an answer, I don't after talking to him. James, thanks for being on the show with us today.
I appreciate it. Did you say I'm a beer of knowledge or beard?
He's a beer, a stein of knowledge.
A keg of knowledge.
A keg of knowledge. Yeah. So it's good to have you back on here.
Thanks,
and I love these conversations because they're so intriguing to me. And every time we talk, I just feel that I need to do more research on things. And so we're going to start this off. The other day I watched a documentary, The Age of Disclosure, which is a really good documentary.
The best one I've ever seen.
Anytime you watch a UFO documentary, it's usually some guy, me and Billie Jean went out to milk the goat, and when I saw a light, and the light came from the heavens, and the heavens put something on my butt.
Yeah, that's
then you have
the standard response.
Yeah, it's usually Boone County, West Virginia. That's where they come from. No offense to you for the beautiful state of West Virginia, but that's usually where it comes from. But this documentary is something that changes your entire perception on who's talking about it. Yeah. So you have a documentary where it's Marco Rubio, congressmen, admirals, pilots, captains, DOD officials, people with top secret clearance that have a lot to lose to even discuss the topic. Because I think if you talk about that in public, you're going to put a stigma or some kind of curse on your career. It could probably end you. Back in the days, pilots were not talk about UFOs because they'd be like, hey, you're crazy. Mm-hmm. Hey, land the plane. You're done, right? So my question to you, sir, with all your beard of knowledge or keg of knowledge, is after this documentary, do you feel like it resolves any questions that the American public are looking at and saying, hey, that's an answer? Or is this documentary just creating more questions down the road for what's going to happen in the future?
I think it did a number of things. I think it probably converted some non-believers into believers.
Yeah.
I think it lit a fire under every conspiracy theorist on the planet. You know, it's only a conspiracy theory until you find out the conspiracy's real.
Yeah.
I think more than answer questions, though, it affirmed what most of us thought to begin with. We believed that we weren't alone. We believed we'd been visited. We actually have, I think, instincts that tell us this is real. These things happen. People have been abducted. Travis Walton didn't make it up. That kind of thing. What strikes me when you're giving your introduction to the documentary, and it's all true, Marco Rubio and the pilots and all this stuff, but you said something that really matters, and that is these people have top secret clearances, and it could hurt them if they talked about it. Well, It isn't going to hurt them if they've been told what to talk about. And I believe what we're watching is a trickle down of information so that when they actually do reveal some legitimate truth, we're not so shocked. They can say, well, we told you. It was on this documentary that Rotten Tomatoes gave 98%. You know, It was a great documentary. Why didn't you watch it? Why didn't you learn something? And, Rubio gives great explanations for things. And then we see the three scientists that testified before Congress. But it's really clear to me that they were told exactly, even the scientists, if they weren't told what to say, the Congress people were told what to ask.
Correct.
And
Scripted. All scripted.
so we're
Yeah.
still,
Yeah.
they're not, they release 4 or 5 videos. What is it you told me the other day? They're on like batch number 5 right now of videos.
Batch 5 just came out last week. Yeah.
Okay. I'm at the point now with the videos that I'm like, so what? The mall in Miami had people taking videos with their phones. They upload those videos as proof, and then all of the government bots get in the comment section and just say AI slop. And it's not. You can see that it's not. And the people in Miami that were there are commenting saying, no, I was there. This really happened. AI slop. You're a liar, blah, blah, blah. There's nobody at their home. There's no Stephen Powers or James Holley that's at their home watching for people to post that stuff so that we can slam their credibility. But the government will.
Exactly.
The government's got nothing better to do other than to make sure that they control the leak of information.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what's happening I love the documentary. I watched the documentary twice. The Age of Disclosure is the most credible documentary I've ever seen. And it gets exciting because you're like, oh, a lot of my assumptions have been have been affirmed.
Yeah.
But then when it's over and you go, what did they really tell me? They didn't tell me anything we didn't already know.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched it was just a clip. I can't remember if it was TikTok or something like, or maybe an Instagram reel. And they were talking to Steven Spielberg about his movie Day of Disclosure Day.
Yeah.
And during that interview, they said, what do you hope people come away with? And he says, I want them to know that the Close Encounters of the Third Kind really happened. Close Encounters of the Third Kind was not fiction. It was based on things that I was given access to. I haven't seen that on the news.
No.
Why is that only on social media? Because on social media, they everybody just whatever, it's fake, or he's trying to get people to go see his movie. They've got all the reasons in the world to discredit him when, I think we've all known. I think there has been a slow leak of information since 2001, A Space Odyssey, the movie. I think Krubeck was the first one the government said, we'll tell him this much.
Just enough.
And put it out. Then Spielberg, Close Encounters, E.T. There's some whistleblowers that are claiming that the E.T. movie, not the whole thing, but the main plot of a gray that can't get back home is actually based on classified information that they won't release right now.
Well, it might have stemmed from the Brazil incident in starts with a B, where the girls walk through a field and there's an alien that is kneeled up against the wall and tells them, I need help. I'm hurt. And the girls get scared and they run off, right? And this is in the middle of nowhere. And all of a sudden there's military trucks everywhere, helicopters, and a dude grabs a military police officer, grabs the alien, and they take it to a hospital, right? And the first hospital is like, we are not treating this. That is not a human. And we are not veterinarians. So I don't know what that is. Get it out of here. So go to another hospital. They do the same thing. They end up at the third hospital and the doctor treats it. And he's like, I really don't know what to do. I'll bandage it up. It is injured. And all of a sudden military shows up. They put him in a bag and he's gone. Right. Well, the dude that carried that alien ends up getting a weird rash on his forearm, and he dies within 2 weeks from some weird infection that they had no idea how to treat. And every day that they try to treat him, he smelled like ammonia and sulfur. And it became more prevalent every time they would try to treat him like, man, this guy is reeking of some weird stuff, right?
Wow.
And he ends up dying. It's all documented. There's a documentary it's on Netflix. It starts with a V. I wish to God I didn't have dementia. That's crazy.
When you figure it
Obviously,
out, you can, during this part of the conversation, you can put
I'll
the name of it
put it
across
in
the
there.
bottom of the screen and flash it
Yeah.
to people.
But what is crazy is, so that's an ET story. A kid finds an alien,
Yep.
and then the government grabs the alien, and then they try to get him, back
Yeah.
to his home, or they go to do research.
And the one thing that, I think bothers everybody at this point is we've got experts, whether you're watching Ancient Aliens or whether you're listening to online whistleblowers, that are telling you they're not just this one species of alien. Yes, there are grays, but there's also the Nordics, there's also the Tals, there's also the reptilians and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And okay, if you know it, is it because you've met them? Then they have the guys in the documentary. They're like, yeah, I saw it. Okay, next documentary, have him with you.
Yeah.
Put him on film.
Yeah, put him on
make it
film.
something. Bring in somebody that everybody trusts. Whether it be I don't care if it's a Fox News journalist or if it's a MSNBC, doesn't matter to me. Somebody that we know is legit.
Anybody.
We know they're legit.
Yeah.
With their camera crew. Let them in there and do a real interview. And if these things are, telepathic in their conversation or whatever,
Yeah.
have somebody there to repeat what they're thinking, what they're saying, but show me. There's a reason they're not showing us, because everybody knows now Area 51. We hear Area 51, Roswell. We all think of that incident that took place, the crash.
Yeah. Long time ago. Yeah.
And that's not what it is anymore. The base is there because of the crash, but the base is enormous. It's underground, and we don't have a clue what goes on in it.
Yeah.
So why? Why is all this money being spent on a base? Nobody has any clue. Well, I think with your documentary, with the Age of Disclosure, we do understand what's going on there. But circling back to your original question, do I think it answered some questions? I think it affirmed some feelings. Do I think it caused more questions? I think it better.
Yeah, it should. It should.
Because now it's not Billy Joe going out to milk the goat. It's Marco Rubio.
Uh-huh.
It's Harry Reid. So you got a Republican and a Democrat. You got no agenda. And they're both saying, yeah, it's the real thing. They're the real deal.
Yeah.
They're
This
explaining
really
why
happening.
the president doesn't know things. They're explaining why Congress doesn't know things. And I think it better make guys like you and me curious, because the government's never going to tell us.
No, you're not going to find out. And this isn't something that just happened like in the last 10 years. You're talking about 80 years of information and accounts and recover crash artifacts, biologicals, right? And what intrigued me on the Age of Disclosure was, can the president find out about what's happening? And Lou Elizondo is his name. He says the president is a temporary employee.
Right.
He's only here for 4 years. This program's been here for 80.
Yeah.
He'll be gone in 4 years, and we got a brand new guy, and then he'll be gone. He's like, so you don't interview the president or congressman. You interview like the chief of science.
Yeah.
For, I believe it was so you have the legacy program.
The legacy program is one that blew my mind.
That one is scary, because the legacy program is something above all governmental oversight. They cannot be subpoenaed. They cannot be sequestered. They are their own budget. They are their own entity. and they don't report to anybody.
Well, and the other
So
thing
if
is,
you,
speaking of the budget, and I think this is the one thing that Congress, it's so funny. It shows you how well choreographed Washington, D.C. is. That during these testimonies about the legacy program by these three scientists, you had a congressman or a congressperson, I can't remember if it was male or female, say, where does the budget come from for something like this? And they said, misappropriation of funds. And they just said it like it was common knowledge. Misappropriation of funds. You give us this much for NASA, but they only need this much. You give us this much for the military. And then they would siphon off the top of these other budgets to create their
yeah,
own budget that's bigger than all the rest of them.
yeah.
And no one has said a word about that. Nobody followed up a question with who approved that.
Oh, you can't have a response to that because now you're held accountable for your actions. So you approved that budget and you gave them this much. I don't want to get into to conspiracy theories, but this one really triggers something for me. I saw it the other day, and it makes me wonder, like, did this happen because of maybe programs that were outside view of the government?
Uh-huh.
In September 9th, just before September 11th, Donald Rumsfeld gets on the news and talks about that they cannot account for $2.3 trillion.
Nope.
Not billion, not million, trillion. They cannot find out where that went. We're going to do an investigation and find out where that money went. Right?
And guess who was the auditors and the due diligence reps where their offices were located?
The Pentagon.
I'm talking about the non-governmental.
The towers.
The third party. The towers.
Yeah. So then all of a sudden you have September 11th, which conspiracy theorists, entertainment purposes only, guys.
Uh-huh.
Where's my camera going? Oh my God. Government's chiming in. That's weird.
Pentagon just tapped into your camera.
Yeah, somebody did. They just went amok on me. That's great. Can you see me?
I can see you. You're real close up.
Yeah, I'm in the future.
There you go.
What happened? Sorry, man.
Technology.
That's kind of weird, huh?
Yeah.
Talking about some weird shit. Anyways, so September 11th, the Pentagon's hit happened to be the same area that the files were in for all the money for DOD. And then the towers fall. So the investigation is totally canceled. Now we have a national disaster. Horrible day.
Uh-huh.
Horrible day for America. But I think it's really ironic how 2 days prior, and nobody talks about that, by the way. That was just a smidgen on the news. And then you have 9/11.
And then, right? I remember it being on the news. I remember saying, how do they not know where $2 trillion went? And then 9/11 happens and nobody thinks about money anymore because it was bigger than money. And you've got 100 different conspiracy theorists with 100 different theories on,
every bit.
It what they told us it was? Was it an inside job? There's all these things, but something you and I talked about a couple of days ago is it just seems like every time something significant is going to be brought to the public, they whisper it into a microphone and then something enormous happens and we forget about it, but they can come back years later and say, we told you this. We told
it was
you
back. It was published on August 13th. You saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But nothing ever came from it.
No.
And nobody was held accountable. And it just drops, which is, in my mind, confusing. Because if it was me or you as a civilian, and that was our accusations against us, dude, we're in jail, dude.
Yeah.
We done.
There's going to be a grand jury, and there's going to be an indictment. Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to be in trouble, a lot of trouble. and I don't understand how that's working. But can you
Oh,
hear me?
you understand.
Oh, I do. I
You
think I do way
understand.
too well. But once again, this is for entertainment purposes only, and I am not suicidal.
Well, the way I
By
think
the way,
about that kind of stuff is, and you're right, you're not suicidal. So, and
yeah.
here's the thing, we can't prove it, and they know we can't prove it. Taking me back to the Age of Disclosure documentary, they just said, okay, fine. They patted us on the head and they said, yeah, you guys figured some stuff out. Good for you. But they answered nothing.
No, it's another batch of files that me and you've been doing this a long time, and I've seen so many UFO videos and compilations of like, oh, look at this, until the day where somebody lands in a spacecraft and says, my name is Bashar. And I came from Zeta 2 Reticuli,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what we do, right? I'll never. You're just creating more doubt and deceit in
Yeah.
my mind. Like, yeah, here's another picture. When I know you have the picture, and then you say we have way more pictures, but they are classified, and we cannot show the public these because it would rattle the public's mind. So, what are you seeing that we're not seeing? Or when you have the Senator Tim, oh man, he's the big advocate right now. He's been in all these briefs, and he said he's heard some stuff that just
Right.
changed. He's like, I can't even talk about it because when I went home, I was like, oh, what's happening? I'm like, what did you hear? What did you hear that was so rattling in your mind that it offset your daily routine and you couldn't go to sleep at night?
Uh-huh.
What's being forecast or presented in a skiff
Right.
out at the Pentagon that you can't. And he talks about it. I'll tell you, he talks about it on Joe Rogan, talks about it on Sean Ryan, talks about all these podcasts. So what do you hear? Like, what is so crazy
Mm-hmm.
that the world's going to be like, oh my God?
Mm-hmm. Why
What
do you
is
think
that?
they're not telling us?
In my opinion, in my hillbilly opinion, I think it will go against everything that we've ever been taught about where we came from and who we are. It's going to go so backwards from what we've been told and what we've been taught over years.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be so reversed that you will have to question everything: religion, humanity,
Mm-hmm.
people, groups. Because you might have groups in there that have special knowledge that nobody else has known for millennia.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think to me, for you to say it's that scary that I cannot release this to anybody because it would change society. It would have to be so revolutionary that it would make you offset everything that you've ever known, which would make you question everything. Is God real? Are we real? Is our education system even important? Do we need to pay taxes? Who's in charge? Who's running everything? Because if it's alien and you've known for millennia that you just work here and there's somebody else running the entire program, so what are you doing? Because we're all tangible, right? Everything that we do is touch, pay, eat, right? If you find out that that's all bullshit and made up long time ago, it changes everything. And so now we're talking about control. Control. Who's controlling who? Tucker Carlson said it the other day. I'm sorry, I'm doing my own podcast right now. I apologize.
No, you're
but I'm
good.
on a tangent. Tucker Carlson talked about it the other day, and it really put a spark in my mind. The government does not want you to understand or believe in the supernatural.
Right.
At all. Aliens, angels, demons, right? It's all, come on, man. That's just fake stuff. You're just, reaching for the stars. Because if you do believe in the supernatural, which I do believe is real, I believe in Jesus Christ, right? Son of God. I believe that's supernatural to me.
Sure.
Right. But if you can't control supernatural, who can you control?
Yeah.
Because you can't control nothing, dude.
Yeah.
If they're supernatural, you're just a peasant like I am.
Right.
So if I can keep that out of your mind, where you don't even think about that, you just focus on those taxes and you focus on being a productive member of society and speaking what we tell you to speak, eat what you're supposed to eat, we'll be just fine.
I think,
my opinion.
I agree with you. I think that's a big part of it. I think you were right when you said it goes back so many years. And we talked on our last podcast about the Council of Nicaea and the books that were canonized in the Bible, and then the ones that were just oddly left out. And I think if you go back and you read the ones that were left out, that was the first time that we saw the cover up. When you look at what they left out, with no good explanation as to why.
Just left it out. Don't worry about that.
Left it out. They decided we didn't need to know it. And they insisted through Rome and eventually, Lutheranism and all this stuff, they insisted that we not read those, but not only are we not going to canonize them, you shouldn't read them, period.
Yeah. Don't even look at them.
Don't even look at them. If you do, you're putting I heard a preacher say one time that the Bible says if you add any books to this, that you're cursed. If you add any words to it. And in the book of Revelation, there is a scripture that says, you're not supposed to add or subtract from this book, meaning that one particular scroll, not the entire book. But he claimed that if you tried to add back Book of Enoch or Jasher or Tobit or whatever, that you were violating scripture. So they used government, which the Vatican is a government. The Vatican's not a church. The Vatican is a government.
It's government.
And they've decided what religious information we're allowed to hear and what we're not allowed to hear and things like that. And then the other governments decide what military stuff we're allowed to know. And that they tell us what we're allowed to know. And then when we learn different, the men in black really do show up. And I think that's the thing that it's great that Hollywood hints to us that these things exist. But when you watch the old documentaries on Roswell, and when you watch the old documentaries on a town where a spacecraft may have crashed, and then these men in black suits and sunglasses and fedoras show up, they're there 8 or 9 hours and then they disappear and nobody will talk ever again about whatever they saw.
Yeah.
They don't just want to control the information you receive. They want to control what information you're allowed to put out. And freedom of speech is an illusion. If it wasn't an illusion, then certain words would be allowed to be spelled out on TikTok. The fact that you're not allowed to use the word suicide, it's a word. It has a definition. We all know what it means. It's not a dirty word. But now they've decided we shouldn't hear it. And if it's spelled, we're going to put in little symbols where some of the letters go. And it's not just that word. There's probably 25 different words that are just taboo now. Now you're controlling the language. You say we have freedom of speech, but we don't even have freedom of what words we use. And, it's the whole thing.
Did you see that?
It's frustrating. It's frustrating because we do know the truth, but all they have to do is have somebody knock on your door and say, you don't know anything. And something happened to me when I was in the military. That's a perfect example. I wasn't old enough to be offended by it. I was 19 years old. I was in the Navy. We were in the Caribbean. We had been doing counter narcotic drug operations.
Said
Tongue
that 5
twister.
times.
Around Cuba.
Yeah.
And we would do this
All right.
figure 8 around Cuba and Puerto Rico. And there were a couple of different Perry class frigates that were on the same mission. And I was on midwatch. I was not a corpsman yet. I was in the Navy I was a non-rate. I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to be.
Right.
And I'm on aft lookout, which is you're on basically the helo deck where the helicopters would land. And there were no touch and goes that night or anything like that. So I'm back there with my buddy and we're smoking cigarettes and drinking cherry Coke, trying to stay awake on midwatch.
Yeah.
And we saw something. We saw something in the sky. And your job as a lookout is you have the sound powered radio that you click the button and you talk into it and it goes directly to the bridge and it goes to combat systems. Combat systems is who looks at the radar and the sonar and all that stuff. And we weren't sure what we saw, but it looked like a green light. It looked like a green light. We watched it streak across the sky, and then we watched it streak again, and I called it in. Combat systems is aft lookout. I've got a surface to air contact. And I explained it in the way, that we were taught to explain it. No one, and they're always supposed to say, Roger that, or thanks, aft lookout, got it, nothing.
Copy.
Nobody talked back to me over the radio. Nobody said anything.
Yeah.
And a few minutes later, our OSC, Operations Specialist Chief, comes back. My buddy and I are still standing back there. He's lights up a cigarette with us. This is back in like 92. So everybody had Marlboro lights and cherry Coke, right? And
still do.
Yeah, and it's warm outside. It's the Caribbean. And he lights up a smoke and he says, what'd you guys see? And we explained it to him, showed him the direction and everything. He stood there for a minute and he said, listen, you didn't see that. And we didn't get it at first. I think we were both 19 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we didn't get what he was saying. And so we re-explained ourselves. And he said, no, you don't understand.
You didn't hear me.
You didn't see anything. And he said, it's not going to be in the logbooks. And nobody on the bridge is going to put it in the logbooks. The quartermaster's not going to log it. You didn't see anything. Do you understand? And we were like, yeah, okay.
Aye.
I was an E2. Yeah. I'm going to argue with an E7. And I said, Roger that. And he said, listen to me. If you're caught talking about it, it's going to be a bad day. So just move on. And if it comes out again, you don't need to report it. If you see that greenish light, you don't need to report it. I'd never been told that being on lookout before. But it wasn't just me. It was me and another. I think he was one pay grade ahead of me. I think he was an E3. And then it turned out, we found out that night, he was also everybody in combat systems who, by the way, all had secret and top secret clearances because they did. Yeah. If I didn't know where we were as a non-rate E2, I could look at the water and say, this is where we are. But they didn't have to tell me, where are you on the map? Those guys knew. They could look at their radar. They knew where we were on a globe and things like that. There's a buddy of mine, though, we were having mid-rats. We were hungry after a watch, and he walks up to me. He says, hey, Holley. He said, so how was that green light you didn't see? And I said, it was interesting. And he started laughing. He said, yeah, I didn't see it on my radar either. Isn't that crazy?
Dude.
So we all saw something, and we were told in 1992, no, you didn't. And if you say anything, it'll be a bad day. So you can't tell me we have freedom of speech.
No, you don't, man. No, you don't. Well, even on the TikTok or the Tic Tac incident with the Nimitz, the pilots chased that anomaly through the sky, and it's like going all over the place. They interviewed the radar technician who says all of a sudden some helicopters show up and they take all the discs out of the servers. And usually, like, there's a log. Hey, Billy Bob, grab these discs.
You better believe it.
Blah, blah, blah. And he said there was nothing. They grabbed it and put new discs in, and they flew off. So that information was lost entirely. Well, it's not lost. It's in somebody's hands, right? So they have all the actual data, the airspeed, descent, ascent. So, just like that.
For those helicopters to show up and for that to take place, they knew the event occurred.
Mhm.
They already had all the information they needed. They didn't need the information off the Nimitz. They needed us to not have it.
That's correct. Somebody was watching. They followed it and said, get that information, that data, and do not release that. It cannot be in anybody's hands. Bring it back to Area 51 or Wright Patterson Air Force Base or Dudway Proving Grounds. So here's the picture of it, right? So here's the picture of the Tic Tac, and it's like, oh my God, it's so quick. But you're not getting the whole story. You're just getting a smidgen, a tip of the iceberg.
It's always made me laugh that, since I was young, 12, 13 years old, the government has bragged. We have satellites that can read the license plate on a car from miles above our atmosphere.
Yeah.
And we've gotten them when 9/11 happened, we will find Osama bin Laden. We've got satellites that can read the top of a man's watch from space. We'll find him. And yet we didn't find him for years. And every picture of the Tic Tac or of an asteroid or a flying saucer, they're all these grainy, messed up looking. You're going to tell me that you can read my watch from space, but this pyramid that's the size of a football field that hung over Colorado, you missed that?
Yeah.
Come on.
We didn't have the imagery for it.
Mm-hmm.
No, dude, you captured the entire thing.
Yeah.
And you watched it.
Yeah, it's interesting how they conveniently can't find things. And, it's like when you watch the spaceship or the UAP that goes from the air into the ocean and then back into the air and then back into the ocean, and it never loses momentum. It never slows down. The water has no effect on it. I think if I'm remembering the documentary, which you just watched it yesterday, it's been a couple of weeks for me. I believe they clocked it at 1,000 miles an hour, 43,000 miles an hour. And so to not get a good picture of that, to not train your satellite on that.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. So the fastest aircraft we have is the in the past, what's documented is the SR-71 Blackbird.
Mm-hmm.
And it travels at about 6,000 miles an hour at fuel top speed afterburners. We're scooting, right?
And it can do that for a very short amount of time because of how much fuel it takes.
That's correct. Then they run out of fuel, and now we got a problem. So when the SR-71 wants to turn around and come back a different direction, it takes the state of Ohio,
right,
for it to turn around.
Yeah.
Right. So just think about this. Your fastest plane is 6,000 miles per hour. And we're wearing astronaut suits, canisters for
oxygen,
air, diapers, because you got to pee. There's nowhere to go pee.
Right.
But then you have UFOs, UAPs, that are traveling at 43,000 miles per hour. 43,000 miles per hour, and then stop on a dime and then shoot to the left.
Yep.
And they're gone. And then they're in space, and they're back on the ocean seabed, right above the water.
Yeah.
And now they're playing with pilots going around them. So you don't have any technology. If that was a real pilot in that, he would be scrambled eggs with a hint of tapatio and some salsa. Right? He'd be done, dude. He'd be garbage.
Yeah.
Because we can't do that. Centrifugal force would push, it would just smash. You turn a corner in a car too quick, you feel that, oh geez,
sure.
all right. Yeah.
Roller
Imagine
coaster.
43.
It's been on a roller
The
coaster.
road. Yeah. Same thing. So to have this technology and things happening at that level is way above what we have. Not just way above, thousands of years ahead of us.
Mm-hmm.
We're not even close to that. And by watching this show, it just creates more questions. You all agree that it's happening. You've seen it.
Yeah.
You've documented it. Give me who made it. Is it by GM? Is it by Skunk Works? Is it by who made it? Where did it come from? What kind of material is that? And I think those questions just become more profound as it becomes more and more real.
Mm-hmm.
I think people are start asking those questions. Where was it manufactured? What are you using? Who's flying it?
Mm-hmm.
Who's driving that? And I think the answer to those questions, Mr. James, is something that nobody's ready for. Because I believe it's going to pop up a whole new scenario of what the hell's going on and what are
Well,
we doing?
I think people can handle information better than what they're given credit. I think most people would agree with you, though. I think most people would say it would cause mass hysteria. We if you remember the old movie Independence Day, Will Smith's movie Independence Day,
Yeah.
you had
Yeah.
these little factions of people who were wanting to worship the aliens. You had the ones with the signs that said welcome. Then you had the
Yeah.
ones that were terrified of them, and it caused all this disruption. And I'm not saying that wouldn't happen, but I find it odd that when it's convenient, the government tries to scare us. I find it odd that they didn't worry about our reaction when they dropped H bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They didn't worry about our whether or not it would cause mass hysteria when they were making our moms and dads hide under their desks during nuclear blast drills. They didn't worry about whether or not it would cause mass hysteria when they locked down the world during COVID. That was all fine
Right.
because they said so. But if a
Yeah.
spacecraft
Yeah,
lands
that's
and we
healthy.
actually get to see what we've all wondered whether or not it existed for the last 150 years, that will bother people. How about bullshit? How about
Yeah.
you're making that up because
Yeah.
it's not convenient to whatever agenda that the government has right now? And I don't know that it's our government. I don't know that it's our. This is a world thing because this is not a United States secret. This is something that's going on at the highest levels of government all over the world, and I don't know if it's because they've decided we can't handle it, and so they're going to keep it a secret, or if the aliens have told them, we'll tell you when it's time.
That's the $1 million question right there.
Right.
10 p.m.
That
You're having a good
that is the $1 million
You're
question. Is something already been put in to account?
Mm-hmm.
Is there an agenda that's already happened and we're maintaining the course that was given to us
Sure.
by whoever that is?
Right.
The Nordics, the Greys, right? I think it sounds like so science fiction, but I don't know, man. I think the veil is breaking
Mm-hmm.
on Supernatural. I think things are happening, and it's my personal opinion.
Well,
I
the
don't know
book of
about
Daniel,
anybody
if
else.
you said you believe the Bible, the book of Daniel says in the last days that the secrets will be made known, that knowledge will be poured out. And it doesn't say who's going to pour it out. It doesn't say who's going to remove the veil. It doesn't say if it's a
Yeah.
good guy or bad guy. It just says that we're all going to learn the secrets. And so, I mean, maybe that's what we're experiencing. Maybe we live in the age where we get to learn what the secrets are.
Yeah.
We might be sorry we learn what the secrets are.
Yeah, sometimes I think ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
Like, let me just live my life.
Yep. I agree.
Because we all live the way we want to live and we're happy. We have family and, house and food. I think sometimes being curiosity kills the cat, right? So you start diving down a rabbit hole and you might find some stuff out that I can't chew on that. That doesn't make sense to me.
Well,
It might
I
create
like what you're
some
saying right
doubts.
now. I like what you're saying because there's too many people on threads and on X and things who are so consumed by what's the secret? What's the answer to the secret? Is there a secret? We were talking
Mm,
about 9/11, all of the theories behind 9/11, they become so consumed it becomes their life.
yeah.
Here's what I would say more than anything. No matter what level of secret that it is, it's above my level. I'm not going to know anything till they decide, whoever they are.
Yeah.
I'm not going
Yeah.
to know anything until they decide it's time for me to know.
Yeah.
And there's nothing I can do about it anyway. It's like the guy that says, I refuse to pay taxes because, and he can list off all the reasons and
Yeah.
all the documentation and what the government has written in the past on all the reasons he's not going to pay taxes. He still ends up losing his house.
Yeah.
There's still
And he's in trouble. Yeah.
consequences. And
Yeah.
so I think it's more important I like being curious and I like looking into it. And I find it mentally stimulating to have these conversations. But
Hmm.
the government and their secrets are not going to dictate whether or not I have a good day or whether,
Right.
I'm just not going to do it. If
Yeah.
I like a movie, you and I talked about this last time. I like the Odyssey. I'm one of the
Yeah.
guys that went to the Odyssey and left with exactly the experience that I think Christopher Nolan wanted me to have. There's a
Hmm.
lot of people that can't bring themselves to see it just because of the casting. They didn't like
Yeah. It's too
three
much.
of the
It's too much
characters.
for me. Yeah.
Three of the characters bothered them so much. They
Yeah.
were in the movie a total of 7 or 8 minutes in a 3-hour movie. It bothered them so much they couldn't bring themselves to enjoy the spectacular cinematic
Yeah.
event, in my opinion.
Uh-huh.
I'm not going to let it get to me like that. I'm going to
Yeah.
go, I'm going to be entertained. I'm going to listen to what music I want to listen to. I'm going to read what books I
Yeah.
want to read and draw what conclusions I want to draw for me. I'm not,
Yeah.
you said science fiction. It's only fiction till it happens.
Right.
And right now we've seen everything in Star Trek go from being science fiction to being Apple computers.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the whole video on the front of
Hmm.
a phone. Well, that was science fiction when Roddenberry
Yeah.
made the show.
Yeah. Trek to tech.
Now it's just
Yeah.
the way it is. And
Yeah.
there's nothing I can do about it either way. I'm going to
Yeah.
enjoy my life
Yeah.
and I'm going to enjoy learning whether or not I was right. Sometimes it's good to feel validated,
Yeah.
but
I
I
agree.
don't need to know everything. And people that think I'm not saying we don't deserve to know everything because there's people that get really upset about that. Sure, you might deserve to know everything, but you're not going to.
Right.
And you
You're not.
need to learn that that's just the way life is. Because again, it's not an America thing. It's not a U.S. Congress thing.
Yeah.
You were talking about uh, they don't want you to believe in supernatural. China is not. They're not allowed to make ghost stories in the movies. They're not allowed to print books that are about ghosts because the minute there is something supernatural, we are
Hmm.
less. The minute that there
Yeah.
is something godlike, the government's no longer God. And they
Yeah.
can't have that. And
Yeah.
so that's the reason so many Disney movies and things like that are refabricated just for the Chinese market. And,
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way it is. You're not going to change it. Enjoy your life.
Yeah. Other than the undocumented occurrence that happened on a Navy vessel, have you ever had any other accounts of UAPs or UFOs in your lifetime?
Yeah, one time. And when this is over, I'll send you pictures so you can show everybody.
Okay.
Because it was recent. It was very recent. Unlike the Navy thing that took place when I was 19, this was just a couple of years ago. And oddly enough, um, we were making a science fiction movie. Um, so all right, I'll tell you this. I'll
ET
tell you,
Part 2?
yeah, I'll give you the abridged version real quick. I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota.
No.
It's one of the poorest Indian reservations They don't get the benefit of the casinos and things like that. There's very little infrastructure. The schools are not held to a standard that anybody gets any real education. That's not a slam on them. It's really sad when you go onto the reservation and see what's going on there. But the medicine man for the Lakota and Dakota nations, he's one of the last living Lakota language speakers, and his name is
Okay.
David Swallow. And his son Quentin is sort of the I would call him a worship leader for when they do. He sings when they do uh, sweat lodges, and when they have big events, he will sing a prayer at the beginning and things like that. And they're very well known among the Lakota and the Dakota people. He wrote a script. I should say he wrote a story, and then a friend of mine named Asia, she put it into a script. And so what it turned into was all of the stories that he wrote were the ancient Lakota and Dakota folklore and traditions. He's very careful not to call them myth. He doesn't believe they are myth. They are, to him, to the Lakota people, the spirituality behind the stories is just history. It's not separate from physical history.
Yeah. It's real stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And he wrote 3 stories. One was about ghosts, one was about aliens, and one was like, I think, about a Bigfoot or something like that. I haven't seen that one yet. But I got cast to play a guy who's like 70 years old, significantly older than I am, and this has been a few years ago. And funny story, the girl that plays my daughter in real life is 6 years older than me. So they had to do some makeup and things like that.
Yeah.
In the story, it focuses on unwelcome alien beings. And the fact they were unwelcome, but the fact that they were not friendly, coming from the Lakota medicine man who believes that all this stuff is history, actual history, not fiction. That made me rethink what might be flying around those F-16s, what might be going down into the ocean and back up. Do we want to know? Because he feels like he knows and he doesn't want them around. And so we made the movie. It's called Ghost Dance. And it's been to a couple of film festivals. And I think they just reshot one scene and they're fixing some things. It'll be out. Won't be much longer. But the idea behind it is to put on film for the general public Lakota and Dakota traditions so that they understand why. Why do we sing this song? Why do we do this dance? Why do we wear this color? Why do we have these feathers? He wants people to know because so much of their traditions and things were outlawed. I mean, I don't know if you know this or not, but it wasn't just lost, but their traditions were outlawed. Abraham Lincoln, who is, you don't say anything bad about Abraham Lincoln. He, saying something bad about him is the third rail. It's not good.
Yeah.
And but he made it illegal to speak the Lakota or Dakota languages, and punishable. I know they started it. Everything goes back to childhood when they try to indoctrinate you. So when the nuns and the monks would open up missions and schools and things throughout the West, whether it be, Montana, Colorado, South Dakota, North Dakota, they would make it corporal punishment. You would be beaten if you're caught speaking your own language.
Why was that language so illegal?
I mean, it was the idea behind it is that way they couldn't plan a mutiny or an overthrow or anything like that, and you not know it, make them speak English. The Catholics thought, if they're going to speak another language, it better be Latin. It better be a prayer. that kind of thing. So because
Yeah.
everything else was a
Yeah.
savage language, it was considered savage and therefore ungodly.
Oh,
That's the
wow.
great thing you
Oh,
can
wow.
do is if you don't like something, it's ungodly. That
Hmm.
kind of thing. But
Yeah.
so because of that, Dave Swallow, the medicine man, his son Quentin, and a girl that's in the movie with us are three of the last um, fluent Lakota speakers on the planet. And so they're trying to, again, they want to make movies and they want to do things that will make people interested so that they can plant the seed and sort of hope that people want to learn their language, want to learn their traditions so that their people and their traditions don't just die out completely. Dave's an older guy. And I mean, Quentin is close to my age and he's his son. And again, their schools and things like that are not up to par, and their own people, not just white people, not just Americans, not
Yeah. Yeah.
their own
Native.
people, the Lakota people,
Yeah.
the people that live on the
Yeah.
reservation don't know some of their own history, which we're the same way. It's
Oh, every bit.
incredible
Every bit.
watching people who couldn't tell you why we celebrate the 4th of July or, what does Independence Day mean or where was um, the first Continental Congress.
That's when the pilgrims took over the Indians and we got turkey.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
funny. But back to the story. So we were filming this movie that is basically an indigenous man's version of the X-Files. But he doesn't see it as science fiction, he sees it as history. And so we tell the stories in a way that's entertaining to guys like you and me, and we learn a little something sort of by accident, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
And while we were filming, we filmed a lot of the movie in the Badlands. And if you're not familiar with the Badlands, it's named like that for a reason. In the daytime, it's 100 degrees, and at night, it's below freezing. And
Oh.
there's
So Mars.
there's no
They're
yeah
on
there's
Mars.
no there's no animals really that you can find, but there's snakes everywhere. I asked somebody, I said, "What do they eat?" There's nothing here.
Sand.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it was crazy, but it's jagged rocks. It looks like you're on a planet that you've never dreamed that you'd be on. It was so surreal. I'll send you a few pictures. It looked like we were on a movie set, and we weren't. We were outside in the Badlands, 5 or 6 miles from the reservation. And one night we were doing a night shoot, and Quentin, and I'm going to talk like Quentin, but this is not a put down. I would talk like this if Quentin was here. Quentin has a very specific rhythm to his voice, and it's very stereotypical of what we would see on Gunsmoke or some of the old
Uh-huh.
Westerns. And
Yeah.
I always wondered why they did it. They really do that. There's not a lot of emotion or inflection in their voice. But we were filming. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning, and Quentin and I had become really good friends. And he kind of tapped me on the shoulder. He pointed up. He goes, "James, look, here come the star people." And I look up, and there's this little white dot, and it is just bouncing all over the place. And I said, "What in the world is that?" And he looks at me without cracking a smile and says, "I just told you. That's the star people."
Why don't you listen to me when I speak to
What
you?
part would I don't stutter? And so it got closer and it kept bouncing around. And so we've all got our phones out. We're trying to take pictures. We're trying to take videos. The video was futile. It was just, you couldn't keep up with where this thing was. You'd think you'd have it in focus and then it was gone and somebody else is saying, "There it is." And so we just kind of screenshot the videos of what moments we had finding it. And then it kind of disappeared. And I should preface this. We were in a van with the back doors open, and the van was it's where we got our food for the night, because it was a night shoot. So it's actually like 2
Yeah.
or 3 o'clock in the morning, and it was our lunchtime. And so we're all there getting our burritos or whatever we were eating at the time. And we're outside. And we watch this happen. We watch this thing bounce around. And then I hear the woman that plays my daughter say, "Oh my God, look." And it had come so low, maybe a story and a half above. We were eating. So the tech people were setting up the next scene with lights and getting camera positions ready and things like that. And we grabbed our phone and all of us took a picture.
Yeah.
And it just looked like light. To us, it just looked like this big ball of light. But then when we looked at our phone, because the phones are so well done now, they kind of minimizes the light, kind of helps you
Mm-hmm.
adjust light.
Mm-hmm.
You can see the outline of a craft. And it was hovering probably, like I said, 60, 70 feet above the people who were setting up the next scene. We saw it. I shouldn't say hover. It didn't never hovered. It never stopped moving, but it was moving slower. And it was over top of them. We got the picture, and within seconds, it was just gone. It went straight up.
No
And
wind, no sound,
no sound,
no.
no wind. There was nothing. It was so surreal that, and the thing of it is, again, all of us actors that were there visiting were blown away. And
Yeah.
all the indigenous people were eating their
Yeah.
burrito, almost bored, like they see it every day.
Yeah.
And they literally, they were like, "You guys get so excited about this." They live here too.
Oh man.
And they couldn't
What
care
does that
less.
mean?
But Dave, the guy that wrote the story, he didn't like the fact that they come back and forth. You kind of got the vibe he had seen some things the rest of them hadn't seen. And he was by
Uh-huh.
far the oldest.
Hmm.
Let's just say,
No, that it's crazy like how we live our lives as um people on a daily basis.
mhm,
We live in our little little tubes of
mhm,
life. That's what we only see what we see, hear what we hear, and you have no idea what's really happening to other people,
no.
other cultures,
Mhm,
other supernatural stories, right? And then you deal with somebody in Wyoming,
yeah,
and this is this is a Tuesday.
yeah.
They come here every day.
They
We
were
see
not
them all the time,
impressed.
and
They weren't impressed.
right,
They didn't act like it was a
right,
big deal. And what I was going to say just now is, Dave doesn't like them. Dave seemed genuinely nervous that it was happening.
yeah.
And what I was going to say is, I said, let's just say my character doesn't fare well in the movie because, as far as Dave's concerned, they're not good. The beings that show up in the craft are not good beings. They're not somebody we want to hang out with. They're not
Oh,
here in peace. It's a little more like the Independence Day is kind of the vibe
oh,
I got from Dave.
oh. So they have an agenda
Mhm.
which is not friendly.
No, no. Uh, he almost feels like we are, as humanity, which you and I are not going to believe this. We're not going to agree with him because we do believe a Christian philosophy. But he believes that we are their experiment. And when the experiment's over, they throw it away.
I think this takes us right back to another podcast we had
Yeah.
that we were created by them
Mm-hmm.
and we served a function for their goals and their objectives, and that's what we did. And this might be the piece that I don't believe. Man, I can't. It's hard for me to wrap my mind around that,
Right.
right? No, believing what I believe and my upbringing. But this might be the part that senator is talking about. Like, this is so backwards thinking that it would disrupt society.
Oh, I think it would. I think it would disrupt society, but I think that's our fault. And going back to our last podcast, um, I believe that allowing one particular government, being Vatican City, to control all religious knowledge and spiritual knowledge. You know, their museums, their archives, their libraries are bigger than the Smithsonian. They're bigger
Yeah.
than the Library of Congress. And
Yes.
they
All
decide
put
whether or not you're
together.
allowed to see it, read it, hear it. What did you say?
All put together. The Vatican's catacombs of
Yep.
information is
Yep.
miles of information.
So for them to decide we're not allowed to know things, for the Council of Nicaea to come together and say these 66 and only these 66. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad that, Ethiopia had 82. I'm so glad that
Mm-hmm.
the Dead Sea Scrolls showed up and gave credibility to the
Mm-hmm.
forbidden books, because I think uh, it gave us some knowledge that they would have never, ever, ever allowed us to have. And
Yeah.
I think I'm not blaming the Catholic religion. I'm blaming the Catholic government of Vatican City that is completely in bed with, so to speak, all the other governments of the world. This is not
Every bit. Every
every
bit.
bit. And I think there's a
Every bit.
reason that all governments are so secretive. I believe there's a reason that there's a hierarchy that I tell everybody, they're like, what do you think, whether it be Obama or Trump or Bush or whomever, what do you think about what the president did? And I always say the same thing. The president is the hood ornament on a car. He makes the car, he lets everybody know where the car was made. This is an American
Yeah.
car. But when you lift
Yep.
up the hood,
Not the
that's what
president.
runs it. The hood ornament has nothing to do with the mechanism that makes this thing move. And we don't know who those people are.
It's the Majestic 12.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. But we still don't know who the
It is.
Majestic 12 are.
It's Larry, who works down at Kmart, Susan at the laundromat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nobody knows like who were the people in the Majestic 12 and what is their function, where do they come from, and where do they stand.
Right.
So you just have a icon,
Mm-hmm.
a speaker,
Yeah,
who represents what everything is being given to him.
and
Like,
I'll throw this out at you.
talk about.
Another dovetailing with our last podcast is we were talking about the lost books of the Bible, Jasher and Enoch and some of the other books of giants and stuff like that. And if you read those really carefully and you study them, you actually study them. You don't read them like a storybook. You actually, the book of Jasher's spoken of in the book of Samuel. It's talked about in the book of Joshua. Enoch is talked about by Jesus. It's referred to in Jude. These are ancient texts that were considered, much like those indigenous people, they were just considered history. They weren't considered paranormal because the paranormal was normal. And so there was a different perspective when they wrote these books. And if you read them, you find out that these fallen angels that were called the Watchers were sent to earth, and they defiled man and they defiled animals and they did all these things. And that by the time Noah was born, God had had enough and he wiped the earth clean of their dysfunction. And in the New Testament, it says, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be when the Son of Man returns. Well, how was it in the days of Noah?
Well,
there were fallen angels mating with people. There was knowledge given out on metallurgy and weaponry and bombs
cosmetics
and different things that were not supposed to be given out. Mm-hmm. There was technology given that they weren't supposed to have. That's pharmaceutical knowledge that they weren't supposed to have.
Mm-hmm.
If you take all of the things that were going on in the first 4 to 6 chapters of Enoch, you can look at it and go, holy cow, this looks like Pfizer. Holy cow, this looks like the Department of War. Holy cow, this looks like all of the things that are going on right now. That
right
we
now.
Have a problem.
That's happening right now.
Mm-hmm. And so it is as the days of Noah.
Yeah. And the question is this the beginning of the days of Noah? Or are there things that are going to happen here in the near future that make it even more like the days of Noah?
Well,
Like, I don't know, beings that come down, procreate with women,
right?
hybrids, all kinds of those weird, alien conspiracy theories. So, like, you might be in the beginning stages of the days of Noah, but it could be becoming something bigger. And then hopefully that's when it's all over and we just go home.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, hopefully.
So according to the book of Genesis, I had to look this up because I didn't want to get it wrong. According to the book of
Okay.
Genesis, Noah lived 950 years. So as it was in the days of Noah could be 1,000 years.
Yeah.
So are we living in them now? Are we in the middle of them?
Or did we just start?
Or did it just start? We don't know.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it just started. I believe there are moments that we can see in history and we know that a box has been checked. I think,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think, and again, I'm not saying this is bad. I'm saying it looks like a sign to me, but when you can put a pig's heart into a human being and they live, when you can grow a baby in a test tube and you can't tell that the baby was grown in a test tube.
Yeah.
When 9/11 happened,
Yeah.
everything changed. I don't care what anybody says or who they think did
It
it
all changed.
or who they think's responsible. When the Patriot Act was passed and they are now allowed to know everything we do at all times, we have no say so because you and me are a national security risk.
Every bit.
Everything changed.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when COVID happened and they tested lockdown procedures and they were allowed to put untested vaccines into us and tell us if we didn't take it, we couldn't travel. We couldn't work.
Yeah.
We couldn't be in the military. You will, you will, you will. And I did it. I took the shot.
So did I.
I was working overseas and I needed to be allowed to travel. And so I took it and I took the booster. And a year later, I took it again. And now I'm kicking myself because these bastards like Fauci are on TV pleading the fifth because they know what they did was lies.
Yeah.
And it drives me insane. But I think everything changed on 9/11. I think everything changed during COVID. And I think we're going to continue to see these little markers that let us know we're moving closer and closer to the end of the days of Noah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in conclusion, Mr. James.
Yes, sir.
What do you have on your chest that you would love to put out there for the world about the UFO AI dilemma? What do you think is something you would, word of guidance or profound words of wisdom? What would you have for that?
Two things. Don't be dismissive, but don't be gullible. Don't be these people that post things. You and I talked about it. The phones, multiple phones that took pictures and videos at the Miami Mall. When you see the helicopter videos of every cop in Miami at that mall at the same time. And yet some smart ass will get on TikTok underneath one of the videos and just write AI slop. Don't be dismissive. Don't be dismissive. At the same time, AI is real. Don't be gullible.
It is. Yeah.
And so I think, well, I guess if you put those two things together is be curious, but don't live your life by this stuff. There's really nothing we can do about it. I like being curious. It gives me things to write about. It makes me watch movies differently and makes me write books differently. But at the same time, if I wake up in the mornings, what is my life? My life is my wife and my daughter and feeding my dogs and calling my son in DC and seeing how he's doing. That's life.
Yeah, that's real. That's
making
real
plans
stuff.
to go. We're making plans right now to go to Scotland so I can visit some of my heritage. And we already did London, and
How fun.
that's life. That's life.
That's life,
There's
dude.
other stuff that we can't control, whether they are prophetic or fiction.
Yeah.
We don't control them. And so just enjoy your life. Don't get
I agree.
anxiety over the news.
You know what? You know, it's so crazy you brought that up. And once again, my dad said something the other day. He said, you have to enjoy the day.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy the day. Tomorrow's coming, potentially.
Yeah.
Right. But enjoy the day. Enjoy the moment. We're driving down the road. We're breathing. We're going to the restaurant, or we're going to the store. We're living our life. Enjoy the day. Because if you focus on tomorrow and the weeks after that, it becomes overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
Things get tight. Things get tough. And when you just said that right there, like, enjoy what you got right now.
Yeah.
That is legit. That is so real. Like, just enjoy what you have right now. Yeah, tomorrow's going to come. There might be some challenges and tribulations that go with that.
There will be.
Guarantee it.
Every day.
But enjoy the day that you have and the breath you have and your loved ones and your family.
Yeah, leave a legacy, man. When I die, which is going to happen, I got fewer years left than what are behind me. And when I die, I want people to say, he was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
He was fun to be around.
Yeah.
He was interesting. I don't want people to say he took everything so serious. Or I'm not surprised that a heart attack took him out. Anybody that states
that's crazy. Yeah.
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 So you leave a legacy of hope and, fun. You got a limited number of days. Like you said, your next one's going to come, but you don't know when the next one's not going to come.
That's correct. And as a ginger, I've been walking this earth for 600 years.
I've heard that about you.
And I just keep waking up. I remember Jesus. He was a good kid, hell of an athlete. I just keep waking up, man.
Yep.
Just keep waking up.
Man, I appreciate you having me again.
Yeah, I love it. I love every conversation that we have. We started off with the age of disclosure, and it kind of rambles off. But this is not scripted in a real conversation. These things happen and unfold. If you're talking to a family member or a friend, if you have a conversation, it will veer off into different directions.
Sure.
But we started off with the age of disclosure, and there was a lot of information that was put out there that I thought was cool. Something to chew on for a little bit. And I really appreciate you being on here today to discuss that with us. And I look forward to our next conversation, which will be about underwater basket weaving and the complexities of nylon. So I don't know what that means.
That's
I don't know
great.
what that means. So, hey guys, one guy, two cups, special guest, once again, reoccurring guest, James Edward Holley, discussion on the age of disclosure in all of humankind and what it means to us today, and AI and tacos and all kinds of stuff. So it was a great conversation. It kind of covers a lot of spectrums, but I think it was something that we could all chew on for a little bit. And sometimes you might want to look a little deeper inside and see what that means to you. Maybe there's something that touched a nerve on you. And if it did, put that in the comments. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe, follow, like, all the algorithms for YouTube. We appreciate you so much, and tune in for the next big podcast. Have a good one.